Hey guys, welcome to another Consult ROI podcast. I am your host, Cameron. We've got Danny here as well,
Hey, hey.
and we're going to get right into it. So, without further ado, let's get on it. How can you solve problems to make money? How can you be a profitable problem solver? This is really the biggest defining thing that I found between intrapreneurs, entrepreneurs, and then pretty much everybody else. Everybody else can follow a task. They are the ones that are the checklist people. They have to be given a checklist. They have to be kind of babysat and held their hand along the way. And they're the assembly line people, right? They're the fast food workers. They're all this other stuff. Now, granted, you can still be an entrepreneur. You can still be an innovator in those spaces. But when you are in a dead end aspect of those careers, it is really hard. And of course, because that skill is not valuable, you will not be able to make any money doing it, frankly. That's so the reality is the more money you can make, the better you are at problem solving, the more money you will make, frankly. Okay. This goes for being an employee or an employer or entrepreneur or anything else. There's a lot of people that will claim to be entrepreneurs, but they absolutely suck at problem solving. And so those what we call as owner operators, where they are doing the same mundane tasks and they are trusting on everybody to refer business to them. They are trusting on everybody else to do work for them. They have no idea how to market. They're winging it the whole time. And as soon as things go down, they're immediately searching for a job, right? So they have no ability to overcome the obstacles and the problems in their life. This is why consistently in any big change or anything that happens in the industry, whether it is Stripe or Facebook or Amazon or any of these big monumental pivoters, they were able to make so much and crazy amounts of success because they solved a very specific problem that a lot of people had. So this is where it also comes into, I am a really good problem solver, which is why I'm good at being able to be profitable in most businesses. I don't need to necessarily know the industry. I don't need to necessarily be passionate about the industry. I just need to be passionate about solving and being able to fix the problems. I don't recommend this tactic with your wife or partner or spouse or anything, but I do recommend it in business.
No, you hit it. You hit it right there, right? Because it's like, that's kind of like default mode. I don't know if it's the makeup of myself or whatever. It's like instant solution mode, right? So I have to be very cognizant of: am I solving a problem? And am I providing solutions, or am I listening? And I don't think you'll be able to go and solve those problems unless you kind of earn that right to take action. And you're going to be able to do that by finding out what problems they are. And you find that out by asking questions and listening. So kind of like dissecting it to
Well, it's
like
not just
peeling the
solving
layers back.
problems, it's really seeing like, hey, because it could really be as simple as this. An employee will say, like, oh, hey, this is a problem I ran into consistently. This is a problem other people are running into. This just sucks, and there's nothing we can do about it. That's the employee mindset. The employer and the entrepreneur and the problem solver is like, hey, here's the problem and everything. All these other people are having the same problem as me, the same desire, the same demand. This is how I can solve it. And this is what I'm going to do to make that happen. Right? So there's an action plan that follows on the solution. Now, everyone has $1 million idea at some point in their life, but the problem is none of you are really willing to work for it. And
Right.
that might hurt your
Action.
feeling, but that's the reality. That's the harsh reality. Is a lot of you will not get off your butt and actually put in the work.
Absolutely. They just don't go after it. Like they can armchair that all day long about their $1 million idea, or they'll kind of hoard that and be like, oh, no, this is my idea. I can't tell anybody about it. And so then you
Yeah,
create
I
this
can't even have
limited
other
mindset.
people.
Yeah, you have this like limited mindset here instead of thinking abundantly of who can this problem solve and serve and everything, and who could I connect with to be able to make it happen. It's, I've got this great idea. I'm just going to hold this one close to the vest. And then to your point, never taking any action on it. Nothing ever happens. So it's like, who cares? It doesn't even matter.
There's plenty of ideas that I've given people that are multi-million-dollar businesses. That's the reality. I've given
Sure.
people literally businesses that they have gone and started and made millions of dollars doing. And the fact is I'm perfectly fine with that because a lot of the ideas or solutions that I've come up with, I'm passionate about, and I understand that I do not have the capacity necessarily to handle it. I don't have the ability to focus on another venture or anything. And I know that it doesn't serve my intention and it gets me distracted or off the rails or anything. And so,
Exactly.
because of that, I will give it to these other people and be like, hey, if you can make this happen, I would love to see it. I would love to see you bring more, the idea into bigger fruition or take it even to a whole new spin that I would have never thought of. And and granted, there's always times in that, like even if I look at some of those businesses right now, yeah, part of me is critiquing them. Part of me is like, man, that was stupid. I would have done that better. I would have done this better or whatever else. The reality is like, hey, look, at least they're doing something. At
That's
least they're
exactly it.
executing.
The
And
fact is that they are actually executing and doing something about it. And I think that's the thing, same thing that we can feel about like people that we see online or social media, right? Like everybody's watching somebody, and then we might critique them from the armchair again, like all day long. But the fact that they're out there doing it and I am not, or you are not, or whoever's not doing it, it's like, you know what? My hat goes off to those people that are actually doing it, despite how unpolished it might be or exactly professional as like maybe they should be or you'd hope that they would be. They're doing it. Like they're ones out there doing. They're making a difference in the lives of those people that they're serving, including themselves.
absolutely. And this usually the most common excuse that people say are like, I don't know where to start. I just don't know. I don't have any clue and everything. I'm not sure how to do it or what to do and everything. And I was like, well, again, this goes back to the mind mapping over and over again. You will notice a lot of our episodes go back to that. It's like, hey, how do you mind map? How do you perform an execution plan? And then how do you consistently execute upon that plan to get consistent and predictable results?
Absolutely. Consistency, predictability. Yeah, exactly. That's all it's going to result into the success that you're looking for. And it might not come overnight, but it's definitely going to come as you consistently execute on that. So I'd ask actually out to the community, what are the very specific problems that you can solve for your customers or that you're working on? You know,
Even your
please share
community.
that.
Like
Absolutely.
most of the multimillionaires, if you look at really even how the sharks on Shark Tank came and got their wealth, if you look at a lot of whether it's Bezos, if it's Mark Zuckerberg, if it's all this other stuff, it all solved different problems mentally, physically, logistically, simplified, or whatever it may be. Because like Amazon and that, um, it's not like you couldn't go to 5 different stores or online stores or eBay and get a lot of this stuff. The thing is that they were able to build a marketplace and do it better than a lot of the other solutions out there, where it was a very simple, predictable marketplace, and it's basically a full superstore for online. That hadn't been done before. There was individual, and if this again might date a lot of us, but I still remember going to the Wonder Bread store and going to the dairy and everything, getting the stuff and that. And because a lot of those things were still relatively separated, you could still get a lot of things in the general place and that, but you still went to different places. Um, it was very rare too, unless it was a very small town, that there was ever like a hardware store near in a grocery store, right? And and granted, as things have gone and moved forward, there's a lot of convenience items and other things that have all been molded into a lot of the stores, even locally. But you've seen transitions, even with Walmart right now, even with Sam's Club, even with Target, even with all these other people that are making it to where you can order everything on your app and everything, and then have them pick it up. So you don't have to go wandering through the shelves or doing any of that. You can literally get what you want, have it done, and not have it take nearly any of the time.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you what, like that's actually it's fascinating because every time we do that, it actually saves us money because we're not getting distracted by getting, you know, all that other junk that might sound good at the
I
time that we
think
probably
people
could do without.
underestimate how much those pop-ups are. There's a reason that if you check out on those, but yeah, everybody that has the membership knows exactly what I'm talking about. It'll say, "Hey, are you sure there's this many items in your cart? you're like, okay, yes. Oh, are you not forgetting all these items? And it'll bring up all these like junk food, all these impulse items, or whatever else you
Yeah.
bought in the past, like bananas, strawberries, or anything else, because they're intentionally trying to trigger so you can buy more. And
Yeah.
that
Oh yeah. They're on
I've
to
always found it very interesting in that with Sam's Club and everything else, because you're really not, there's a couple things that you will save money that will at least justify the membership. But majority of the things, majority of the produce, majority of the other stuff, you really aren't saving a ton of money. And it's but people will pay for the privilege of being there because it's more exclusive, it's bigger volumes, it's more convenient in certain regards, and other stuff, right?
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. So it's I mean, all this is just really interesting, and just kind of, keeping that in mind of like problem solving, the art and science of it, to do it profitably. Because there's a lot of people that solve problems, then you can look at him and be like, well, that guy, he's just killing it, he's crushing it. And look at someone else in the same industry, similar market, similar customer base, that is just struggling. And I think you hit that point earlier of kind of being a real problem solver in an entrepreneurial way, or a simple owner operator that can't get out of their own way to see those forests through the trees in a profitable way.
so a lot of people will also look at solutions, and they think that this is the most common, most irritating thing that I hear from people is, oh, well, the problem I'm solving is that it's too expensive. It's too expensive in that, and I'm going to be the cheapest guy out there. That is the quickest way to lose your dang butt
Race to the
ever.
bottom. Where's
Yes,
the value in that, right? Like, the
you're
value,
not
sure, I
building any
save money,
brand.
but
You're not building any brand. You're not building any allegiance. You're not building anything, and you're working for pennies. So you now just acquired a full-time job for literally making probably less than a minimum wage. And I'm not saying
absolutely.
that there isn't strategy in that, and there isn't strategy in having lost leaders and stuff like that. But if you're really trying to make money and that, and if you need to make money immediately, it's a very different strategy, right? And there's a
Yeah,
lot of times that you don't necessarily have to do that. Like Jeff Bezos, for example, didn't really have to lose any money. He just said, hey, you know what? I'll fork up some money for development to allow people to post products in it, and I'm just going to charge you a small commission. And he let it run. And that's pretty much it. It was very minimal and everything. People could sell it for what they wanted to. And he got, it's basically what's called arbitrage, meaning it's pretty much riskless, right? He doesn't have to do it. But even right now, like one of our companies that is on Amazon, what a lot of people don't realize is even if I make 0 sales, they still charge me $40 a month,
yeah,
right?
just being there.
Just just even for one listing. So if I even post one of our shirts or hats or anything else, it's $40 a month. So I have to make sure that I'm justifying that to make sure that I am able to do that. It's not a lot of money, but it doesn't change that if you don't do things that are going to provide an ROI or return or something else that is a demand that isn't solving some kind of demand on there. Like, for example, because on Amazon, there's tons of products, right? There's tons and everything that you can think of. So the solution you have needs to either be proprietary or it needs to do something better than other people, and then you have to market it and communicate it more effectively to do that. And that is also part of the problem solving, because you might post it and then you're like, oh, well, this is the best product ever. And it absolutely could be the most well designed best product humanly possible ever. But if nobody can find it, nobody knows about it, then who the hell is it helping?
Yeah, if you're the best kept secret in marketing, I always say, like, that's a problem. Like, you don't want to be the best kept secret if you're trying to do that. So you've got to differentiate, you've got to provide that value. And when you do, and that's received by the individual, like, values exceeding the price, that's when they can make an educated buying decision. And what are you doing on that, instead of that race to the bottom of just a price? But how can you differentiate that and lead with that value? What value are you showcasing or educating your customers on? And that could be to your industry. Are you in like do you have a product that your customer needs to be educated on? Are you providing general industry education, or do customers come to you of already educated and knowing that what they're looking for, thinking that they just need a price, And kind of goes back to having a solid sales process and being able to meet customers where they're at, but then to bring them into your process so that you can provide that differentiated value.
Absolutely. And this is one thing that you need to keep in mind is with anything as far as with problem solving and with businesses in general, you have to vet it out by more than just your family. Stop using family. Stop using people that don't want to hurt your feelings, because those aren't real friends in the first place, right? Luckily, I can call, like, me and Danny usually have no problem calling each other's babies ugly. If we suck at something, we suck at something. It's the same thing. Like, I suck at social media. I absolutely admit that. I have no clue really how to build a decent following or anything else, but I do know how to build value. I do know how to pour into people, and I do know how to help. And I am my word. I am my integrity. And even though, like, for example, with Boldly Free, we haven't made a ton of money with it. But what I have done is, like, hey, all that money that was made from that, I'm still keeping my money where my mouth is and putting that into those ventures or those causes and everything else that is important, even though that means I don't get paid. I lose money, right? But is more important for me to that because I look at that as long term, right? It only takes one act of where people question your integrity to where it destroys everything that you've been trying to build. Even, and this is where, put yourself into a situation where you are not going to be desperate or struggle or be put into a situation where you might fight or do something that might cross your ethics.
Yeah.
Because, for example, if you are doing sales and you lying to get a sale is the difference between you putting food or not on the table, it can be really, really hard to not cross that boundary.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see it on TV and the local news and stuff, right? Of just like people, or in the social, people that who are one way, all of a sudden they're being, investigated for all these different things. And it doesn't matter if it's a politician or a business person or an individual or whatever, but it's like, oh, you just keep your head above, the ethical line there. And you can,
Well,
at the end
some
of
of
the
those are
day,
because they made stupid
no,
amounts of money, right? And they didn't have morals in the first place.
sure, but yeah, you
Um,
don't want to get yourself caught into that. Yeah, just to your point there of don't ever put yourself in that situation, and you won't have to worry. And that might come at the detriment of not making a sale, but you're going to be better off for it, and so is your customer for doing the right thing for them instead of the commissionable thing for them.
yeah, it's really about serving them. And at the end of the day, as you build up a brand, like, so for example, Andy Frisella used to literally go into all these conferences and talk to all these people and try to formulate all these relationships and hustle his brains out. And because of his injury, he actually had gotten stabbed in the face. And because of that, he looked disfigured. His whole face was all messed up and everything else. And and he always looked at it as like, oh man, this sucks. Like, nobody's going to care or anything else. But he recognized it later. And I'm not saying to disfigure yourself. I want to make this very clear
Disclaimer.
right here. Yeah, pump the brakes on that one. But what I am saying is that a lot of the things, a lot of the struggles that you will go through, a lot of the disadvantages or things that you see as a disadvantage actually become your strength. In his case, his scar and his messed up face made him memorable. It made him to where everybody remembers, like, hey, do you remember Andy? Like, yeah. Or no, I don't remember him. I have no clue who Andy is. And they'd be like, oh yeah, you do. It's the guy with the messed up face, like the scars on his face
Mm.
and everything. So people remembered him because of that, and it helped gain traction.
Where
And
at
then
first you probably thought that was a big detriment to his success, right?
yeah, absolutely. They thought that people weren't going to take him professionally. They weren't going to take him seriously, and I get it. Like, I absolutely get it. I used to have like, my teeth were knocked out. And there was a few times where I was going around like a tweaker. because I was like missing part of my teeth. It's not fun. It's not something I necessarily would suggest to anyone either. Um, Still not seeing the positive that came out of that one, but it's
But it's an
uh,
experience stuff, right? And I think that's the biggest thing is to like learn from these experiences because that's where the real opportunity is from these experiences, and they might not get easier, but I think that a resounding message that we hear is that you get better at working through them. You become more successful at working through these challenges. Not that they go away or get any easier, but you get better at them.
yeah. So it's not, again, with that solution, not everything is going to necessarily be an advantage. There is something that's going to be clear disadvantages, right? But how good are you going to be at being problem solver to still accomplish the goal? That is how you do it. So if you want more patience, do things that require patience. If you want more problem solving, do things that require more problem solving. Literally, it could be as simple as doing more math problems and everything. You might hate it, but guess what? That's going to help you solving that, doing strategy games, doing chess matches, doing other stuff and everything that stimulates your brain, that makes you think ahead, allows you to better that part of your brain,
Yeah, I
right?
was listening to a headhunter on a podcast several years ago, but something that he said always stuck out to me, or stood out to me, is he said that think about the skills that you've done, that you've been successful at it. And he's had people like, yeah, but I didn't get paid for it while I was doing that. But he's like, who cares? Nobody cares if you got paid for doing whatever this skill, this value that you were bringing to the table. Nobody cares if you were getting paid for it. The fact is that you can recognize it as a skill and acknowledge that is increasing your value to offer to somebody else. And so, yeah, all these are high value skills that you can learn and apply and develop and get better at, be it all those items that you just listed, to be a better you, that best version of yourself, to show up for your customers, your community, your friends, your family, whoever that is, yourself, all of that.
Yeah, and you might not like this and that, but if you don't want to be a problem solver, if you're already making excuses and everything, be like, well, I don't want to do, I suck at chess, I do this, oh, I don't want to do that, I don't know, and everything, I don't have time, I don't like, okay, that's listening to that voice that inside your head that, again, is not your friend. And if you keep listening to that voice, then frankly, you're not going to achieve anything in your life. And if you're content with where you are at in life, then fine. So be it. Why are you trying to do this? Or try to be successful and that to impress the Joneses? The Joneses aren't going to show up at your funeral. The Joneses aren't going to be there for you.
And they're
Um,
not putting food on your table or paying your rent or your mortgage either, right? So,
yeah. So again, what why are you doing this? And you have to get to that point in your life where it says enough is enough. I'm not going to tolerate this anymore, and this is what I'm going to do about it. And that's really where you figure out how good of a problem solver you are. And newsflash for most of you, you're going to suck at first. You are. But when you have no other choice but to solve the problem, and you have no other leg to stand on, and you have nothing to fall back on whatsoever, I guarantee you, and that you'll figure out that you're a lot more resourceful and a lot more capable than you ever thought possible.
absolutely.
Stop using those excuses.
Yep.
So
Delete those excuses. Author Kim Perrell talks about deleting your excuses. And I just love that because it's like, okay, that's an excuse. Delete, shift, delete that sucker, so fast so that, you can keep that positive mindset and that abundant mindset and not get.
it's not just abundant mindset. It's stop thinking about why you can't do things and then figure out. So if you ever hear your brain, this is a great exercise, frankly, for most of you. Um, if you ever hear your brain say one excuse of why you can't do something, I want you to list 10 on a piece of paper of why you can.
Well, absolutely. Be intentional about it.
I guarantee you might suck at it again, even at that at first, and that because you're like, oh, well, one is that. And then you'll be like, oh, I just can't think of anything. I can't think of anything. I'm not good at this, whatever else and everything. Well, yeah, you can. So we can go through a really brief one. I thought of, again, 50 reasons and that why I can't necessarily get a workout in every day. Well, I'm too busy. I'm running 4 companies. I can do all this other stuff, right? So I go down the list and be like, well, here's how I can. Because if I get my physical shape on the line, and that's going to help me be more physically fit, and that which will help me be more effective throughout my day. If I do that, physical exercise has shown that it helps mental health and helps release things that helps me not be as depressed or have anxiety as much or any of these other factors. So yeah, it benefits me there too. Makes me again more effective throughout the day on that is this kind of a side perk. Oh, I can do that and set time and everything and make sure that I at least am effective at the time there. So that I can juggle this around and I can block off these times and that to make that happen while my kids are at school, or this is the case and everything, because this is a priority to make sure that everything else goes smoothly. And you know what? I can't get a workout today, but here's how I can do it while I'm sitting at my desk. I'm going to pace. I'm going to jog. I'm going to do knee steppers. I'm going to do all these other things that I can do. Well, I can do a lot of workouts. I can do push-ups or anything while I'm on the phone, while I'm listening to meeting notes, or while I'm listening to voicemails or anything else. And I'm just consciously do that. So here's, again, 20 other ways that I can make sure that it happens regardless and why I should.
Yeah, even if it's an unconventional way, like it doesn't have to be like this big ordeal of getting to a gym and all that might go into it. It could just be as simple as some of those things that you've listed. Great ideas.
Exactly. Just carrying weights around with you, even an exercise band, even one of those resistance training or those grip trainers or anything else. And that you can literally sit there while I'm talking to you. I could be squeezing that the entire time and switching it back and forth and just doing 10 and 10, 10 and 10. That doesn't take brain power or anything else. And it's a hell of a lot better than getting distracted on your phone every 2 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And one tip that I saw one person say about like the phone and things, she'll actually not touch her phone or specific platform like Instagram or Facebook until it says 9+ notifications. And she's like, okay, enough of banked up to where I can go in and kind of earn the right to go
I'd be
back in
touching it
there,
every 5 seconds at
right?
that point.
So set that limit on whatever that looks for you, right? But
Like
being
50.
intentional about it, of how many you want to go before in between touching it. But just
See, and this
different
is
things
one
that
of
you
those
can be
problem
intentional about.
solvings as well. Like for me, for social media, a lot of my clients, a lot of the partners, a lot of the people I deal with are on social media. And do you have any idea how easy it is for me to get sucked into reels?
Oh my gosh, like
It's bad. It's bad. I've caught myself going down a couple of those rabbit holes and everything. And I have to literally be like, hey, like I got on here just to send the message to correlate or communicate with the person. And I justified it in my mind to be like, oh, hey, I'll just watch the reels while I'm waiting for the responses or something like that. And next thing
I'm
you know is,
laughing from
you know,
experience here.
yeah,
Um,
30 minutes, 40 minutes later, you're like, ah, shit,
yeah,
I just wasted all that time. And so I proactively will try to make sure that when I'm on there or messaging people and that, I will intentionally get immediately out of that tab, go over to something else, start doing notes, start taking care of invoices, whatever else I need to focus on. And then I will make a conscious effort to switch back or look at that tab and everything just to, whenever I get the notification. And
yeah.
only when I get that notification.
I love it. And that's, I mean, when I'm on my computer, like I am here, I've got, it's a free Google Chrome plugin called the Facebook Newsfeed Eradicator, where all it will do is when you log into your Facebook is just show you a quote. So you have to be intentional about where you're going to go on it instead of just scrolling in your feed. It hides your feed and just gives you a positive quote. So that's something that's been really helpful on mine. So Facebook Newsfeed Eradicator. But
yeah,
now
see, there's a lot of ways that you can problem solve here. Okay.
right.
So we've given you numerous examples, even with personal life and everything else that you can do. There's always, like, do you have any idea how many people I hear there's like, oh, I can't be a full-time parent and I can't run a business and I can't do this and I can't do that. And these are the reasons. I mean, you'll find excuses, and that even if somebody hands you everything on a silver platter, I guarantee you can still find damn excuses on why you can't do something.
There's always.
That's the reality.
But there's also equally, the opportunity to find why you can. And you got to dig deep and find that drive of why you can, and get behind it and get the positive side of that list going, like you talked about earlier. And then use that as like a highlight.
You're 400 pounds and everything. You haven't moved out of the chair in days and that. You can at least stand up. You can at least stand up in that and hold yourself up and everything, and curl small weights, or curl that cheeseburger and everything, and just not take bites out of it. There's lots of ways that you can do a basic workout and everything. And even if you say that, I guarantee you there's somebody that's 600 pounds that has it harder than you. So you always look at it as like, stop doing it, because I guarantee you there is people that are heavier, that have it worse, that do that, that are being more successful in your dream than you are.
Yep. There's examples around everywhere. So learn from them. Absolutely.
All right. So again, take these problems, get good at solving these problems, even simple little things in your life, little brain tells, little things that you're doing, and that will allow you to be more profitable and be a better problem solver in business, which then allows you to make more money. It's as simple as that.
Nailed it.
So we love to see what you guys gained out of that this podcast. And if you have any comments, anything, please put it below, and we will catch you on the next podcast.
Peace.